I have to back up just a little bit. I did not do justice to the event, the goings on to get the piece of silk printed at the North Virginia Museum of Arts and Crafts. Uh, I, I, I should have explained more because Violet deserves better attention than I've been giving her. She was very popular in the art and crafts community of Richland, North Virginia. Especially, it seemed like among the young people. They were so happy to see her. It was Saturday, and true, she'd been there briefly earlier with Lance, and and there with the opening of the. She'd gone by briefly and talked to some of them on her way to the opening of the Ethnological Museum. But this was different. She was going to be there at the studio for a little while, and basically the artists and craftsmen that were there, they left what they were doing and came over to see what to talk to her and see what was going on. And the man that I simply said was a dear friend that was very skilled, that would know how to do it. His name's Andrew. They called him Andy. Andy Snyder. I need to say much more about him. And to do this, I want to ask or see if any of you have heard of Leni Riefenstahl. Leni Riefenstahl, a real person. I mean, I'm spinning a tale here, but Leni Riefenstahl certainly was a very real person. She was Adolf Hitler's cinematographer. She made his movies, but she was so much more than that. She was a dancer. She was an actress. She was a filmmaker. She held the record for, I think, the oldest scuba diver ever, and a very, very interesting woman. But why I think of her is because she had an admirer. His name was Horst Kettner. Eventually they married, but that I'll tell you about that in just a bit. But Horst was 40 years younger than Leni, but he was devoted to her. They were for 35 years. They were companions. They worked together. But and think of that. I mean, when she died at 101, and at that time, I guess he would have been 61, 40 years. But he was devoted to her. Such things can happen, and in a way, that's now back to Violet. This man Andrew was devoted to Violet, and I just sort of want to do him and Violet justice. He wasn't 40 years younger, but he was probably 20. He was easily 20, might have been nearly 30 years younger. So it wasn't romance. He was devoted to the person herself, as were a lot. She was very popular indeed. And she herself maybe didn't, I don't know if I want to say, maybe she didn't appreciate him as much as she should have. She probably did. She'd been married twice. This is Violet now. And she was not looking for romance, or certainly never to marry again. But here was a man that was devoted to her. Now back to Leni Riefenstahl. She was married briefly, I think for just 3 years or something like that, back in the 1940s when she was in her heyday making filmmaking and stuff. But then, if you look this stuff up, it's just so interesting. She married Horst, but they were only married for 1 month. It was in August of 2001 that they married, because she died a month later. Uh, and I don't know too much more about the story than that, but I'm just passing it on to you because it's interesting. And what it has to do with the tale that I'm spinning is just that trying to make it believable that a young man could see such beauty in a much older woman, that that this kind of love, I guess, would develop. So she had an admirer. All right, now I'm gonna we'll get back to the moot point. These characters are converging on the moot point, and pretty much a lot of the characters are going to be there early. You know, we've got Edgy and Violet and Elaine. They're traveling together. We've got Jacob and Rachel. They're coming along in their buggy. It's going to be Saturday night, and their Horst Freundin, and others were gathering because they knew something special was going to go on. And the schoolmarm, remember her? Gladys Diversey. She was on her way too, walking through the fields. But interestingly enough, she was not alone.